Welcome to our Weather Impact Report, where we take a look at the top weather stories here in Georgia and around the nation. I'm meteorologist Danielle Moss. Search and recovery efforts continue in flood-ravaged Texas. Officials have now reduced the number of people still missing after the devastating July 4th flooding from 97 down to just 3. At least 135 people died statewide, with 107 deaths in Kerr County alone. Most of the missing were holiday tourists. Recovery teams are still searching through miles of debris along the Guadalupe River, where the historic floodwaters rose 27 feet in just 45 minutes. Here in Georgia, lawmakers held a prayer service on the steps of the state capitol, remembering the lives lost in Texas.
We come before you, Lord God, not focusing on ourselves, but our hearts are heavy for our fellow brothers and sisters, victims in Texas, Lord.
House Speaker John Burns invited two ministers to pray. One was Representative Reverend Mac Jackson, who you just heard from, and Jimmy Elder, who is a pastor in Columbus. Speaker Burns also asked everyone to remember U.S. Representative Buddy Carter's family. His twin granddaughters were at Camp Mystic when the floodwaters hit, sweeping away cabins and at least 20 young girls. His granddaughters are safe, but they were at the camp with their cousin, who unfortunately did not survive.
It's difficult for me, and I'm sure for you, to comprehend what the people of Texas are experiencing right now as they mourn the loss of those closest to them and their families and their friends and their communities. But I do know this: even in the aftermath of such an unimaginable tragedy, I'm reminded of the resilience, the kindness, and the courage of humanity.
Burns also shared ways for Georgians to help communities in Central Texas. One way is by donating to onestarfoundation.org. Over the last 2 weeks, we have seen so many lives change because of this deadly flooding.
On top of the thousands of volunteers and donations pouring into the Texas Hill Country, counselors are on their way there to help for the youngest members of the community. Children moving through the grief and trauma of a natural disaster like this one will take time. In Kerrville, Texas, a fence is lined with the faces of those stolen by floodwaters on the 4th of July. The community has come together to grieve, to mourn, to pray.
They're not numbers. You know, they're little girls and men and mothers and fathers.
The Children's Bereavement Center of South Texas is in Kerr County, helping families begin conversations with their children about loss.
The bulk of our phone calls are caregivers who are just really concerned about how to support their children through all of this tragedy.
Bereavement Center CEO Christina Hernandez says parents and caregivers should keep a close eye on their kids to look for manifestations of their grief.
Kids might have stomach aches, they might have headaches, they might have a decrease in appetite, or maybe some trouble sleeping. All of that is totally normal. I think it's helpful to not allow kids to isolate.
Even if someone doesn't know anyone who is lost directly, these natural disasters can cause a rippling impact.
It destabilizes their sense of security and safety.
Hernandez wants families to know that grief can reappear as more time passes.
Knowing that it's okay to seek help, even if it's years down the road, because grief will come back. We know that.
Hernandez says they're hosting a group counseling session in Kerrville next Wednesday. And for any families needing help who are not in the South Texas area, you can find a counselor near you by visiting the National Alliance for Children's Grief's website. It is nacg.org. In New York, I'm Lou Waldman.
You can also help through 11 Alive. Our parent company, Tegna, has created the Texas Flood Relief Fund to support the communities impacted by the devastating flooding. Just scan the QR code on your screen to donate. Every dollar you give goes directly to those in need. Dangerous flooding unfolded again in parts of South Texas, this time on Monday morning, following a night of relentless rain. Overnight storms dumped 3 to 5 inches of rain in areas stretching from the Rio Grande to the Hill Country, with the heaviest amounts reported in Uvalde County, where the Frio River rose to 15 feet, prompting concerns for moderate flooding. According to officials, evacuations began around 2 o'clock in the morning. Between 150 and 200 people were evacuated near a popular tourist destination. Flash flood warnings were in effect for multiple counties in the region, including flood-ravaged Kerr County, where officials had to briefly suspend search operations until the rain let up early afternoon. Torrential rains and heavy flooding swept through parts of southwestern Virginia. There are several reports of people being swept away by floodwaters. Swift water teams responded to a number of 911 calls. As of July 14th, more than 3,000 flash flood warnings have been issued this year by the National Weather Service. That's the highest number has ever been through the same period since 1986, which is when those warnings started being tallied. Roughly 170 warnings were issued on Sunday and Monday of this week alone. Officials at the NWS say flash flood emergencies, which are considered life-threatening, are noticeably higher this year compared to 2024. The flooding woes impacted in other parts of the country as well. Parts of the Northeast were slammed by heavy rain, causing dangerous flash flooding there as well. Intense afternoon and evening storms brought flash flooding to the tri-state area, with the sudden and heavy downpours leading to impassable roads and dangerous conditions for drivers. Cell phone video captured people wading out into floodwaters above their knees in New Providence, New Jersey, around 10 miles west of Newark. The National Weather Service warned that showers and thunderstorms could bring rainfall rates of up to 2 inches an hour and up to 3 inches in total could fall in the New York City area. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy announced a state of emergency due to heavy rain and stalled storms. Take a look at this dramatic video. This is out of Plainfield, New Jersey. A car goes up in flames after getting stuck in rising floodwaters on Monday evening. You can see the vehicle fully engulfed as the fire spreads quickly. A home exploded Monday as well in Plainfield, New Jersey. Luckily, no one was at home at the time. The family that lives there fled to higher ground as floodwaters rose in the area due to torrential rains. Firefighters found the structure fully engulfed in flames when they arrived on scene. The cause of the explosion has not yet been confirmed. Jersey's wild weather on Monday did not stop with flooding or fires. It was an extremely close call for a delivery driver during a powerful storm there as well. Check this out. A lightning strike nearly hit a delivery man in Wayne, New Jersey, as severe storms rolled through the mid-Atlantic. Home video captured the roaring thunder and the driver's stunned reaction when he shouted, "I thought that was going to hit me." Thankfully, no one was hurt. From Texas to North Carolina to the Northeast, record-breaking flood events have happened back-to-back across the country. Michael Yoshida is digging into what's behind the seemingly non-stop weather events that we've been seeing for the several past weeks.
Heavy rain and deadly flash flooding putting communities across the United States underwater.
It feels like events like last night, again, not just in New Jersey, but as a general matter, are coming more frequently with more intensity.
Summer is flash flood season, when intense daytime heat can fuel thunderstorms and warm air can hold more moisture. But experts say these recent events were more significant for several reasons. Along with high daytime temperatures in parts of the country, we've also seen record levels of atmospheric moisture, which helped drive heavy rainfall that led to deadly flooding in Texas and North Carolina. Summer storms also tend to move more slowly or even stall due to winds in the upper atmosphere being weaker.
And as a result, just deluging places that are not designed to handle that amount of precipitation in that short a period of time.
Recent wildfires also causing problems in areas like Ruidoso, New Mexico, burning away vegetation, and in some areas the fire's extreme heat changing the soil's natural ability to absorb and slow down rainwater. Droughts can have a similar effect too, something we saw amplify deadly flooding in Texas. Urban areas are not immune either, where asphalt pavement and older drain systems can be overrun.
There is a growing recognition in financial markets, in the scientific community, and starting in infrastructure planning that we are dealing with a much different beast in terms of the weather patterns that we're experiencing, and things have to change.
In Washington, Michael Yoshida reporting.
Here's what the weather looks like on Sunday morning in Hong Kong. People stayed inside as a typhoon hit the city with gusts up to 103 miles per hour. Officials issued their highest alert for just the 18th time in nearly 80 years. At least 500 weekend flights at the airport were canceled. So far, 14 people suffered injuries requiring hospital treatment. Flooding wasn't the only issue this week. Strong summer storms produced a large funnel cloud in Wisconsin. The twister caused serious damage on the ground as it touched down. The National Weather Service says multiple tornadoes were confirmed across Wisconsin as severe storms moved through the state. The storms also produced several inches of rain in some spots. That same night, a storm took down 13 utility poles on one street in Memphis, Tennessee. Poles were lying side by side in the road on Shelby Drive, brought down by heavy rain and winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour. About 8,000 customers were without power. Memphis police said there were no reports of injuries. We have heard of several people that have been struck by lightning this year. Unfortunately, the number of victims grew this week. The good news, they are all survivors. Deja Mayfield reports from Florida, where 3 family members are recovering after a scary day at the St. Augustine Beach Pier.
He's the most wonderful, wonderful person in the world. And he takes care of everyone else before himself. So that's why I wanted him to have this trip.
Jamie Schuyler shared these pictures of her and her parents, Diane and Sparky, just minutes before they would be struck by lightning. Jamie says the day was supposed to be a day of relaxation.
My dad, he's the primary caregiver for my mom. She has dementia and mobility issues, so he doesn't really get a chance to get a break very often.
But their trip to the beach ended sooner than planned when they noticed a storm coming their way.
We looked around and saw some lightning in the distance. So we thought we better start getting back.
But as the family made their way back, Jamie says it was already too late.
And I all of a sudden felt like a ton of bricks hit me in the head. So I got struck, but then it kind of knocked me sideways. And then I looked over at my dad, and my dad was on the ground, and he was face first. It struck him in the head and came out his chest. So they had a big hole in his shirt where it came out. So from what I understand, I got 10% of it and he got 90% of it.
People rushed here to this pier to help Jamie's dad before he was airlifted to a Gainesville hospital. Jamie's mother, who was also here in a wheelchair, spared from the strike because of the rubber on her wheels. Jamie's dad is still recovering tonight, and she says this was a big lesson learned.
When we first saw that lightning, that's when we should have started walking back. Even if you don't see lightning and you hear thunder and you're outside like that, then get indoors. Even after all this happened, he said, I don't care what happens after this. I'm thankful to be alive. That's what he keeps saying. I'm so thankful to be alive.
A powerful lightning bolt sparked a fire in Savannah that ripped through an apartment complex, leaving nearly 20 people without a home. One of them, a college student, Bella Rosales, she was getting ready to move out of her apartment, but lost tens of thousands of dollars worth of her belongings, including priceless keepsakes. Despite the loss, Rosales said the community support is keeping her strong.
I genuinely think my mindset would have been completely different if it hadn't been for the community I've built here and just the amount of amazing friends I've made as well.
According to the Savannah Fire Department, lightning-related destruction is worse than usual this year. They say when storms are on the way, get inside, stay away from windows, unplug electronics, and get as low as possible. The storms that moved through Metro Atlanta on Friday came with some force as well. This was the scene in Norcross when a tree fell on a vehicle at Jimmy Carter Boulevard and Atlantic. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. The United States have seen its fair share of natural disasters in recent years. According to a report from reinsurance broker Gallagher RE, raging wildfires and severe storms in the U.S. are driving up global insurance losses. Those losses have totaled an estimated $84 billion for the first 6 months of this year. Wildfires that raged across Southern California in January accounted for about $40 billion of the total. Meanwhile, severe storms that created damaging tornadoes, winds, and hail, many in the Midwest and South, accounted for at least $33 billion in losses. The report said it's been the costliest first 6 months of a year since 2011, and insurance losses are expected to surpass $100 billion for the entire year. A wildfire destroyed the historic Grand Canyon Lodge, and officials say about 50 other homes and businesses were also lost as the fire continued to spread.
Smoky skies linger over the Grand Canyon, a solemn sign of a devastating fire burning across the North Rim.
When the smoke cleared, it's just you look where the North Rim Lodge should be, and it was gone.
The Dragon Bravo fire has charred 5,000 acres and destroyed dozens of historical buildings in its volatile path, including the Grand Canyon Lodge.
It's just really devastating.
First built in 1928, the Grand Canyon Lodge sits where the highway ends. It burned down in 1932 and was rebuilt with the same floor plan in 1937.
It's an icon. It's the American icon that draws people to the region.
Since then, this view has been the first stop for most visitors of the North Rim.
Pretty much anyone alive today, if they've been to the North Rim of the canyon, they've experienced going into that lodge, going down the stairs, and your first view of the canyon is from in the lodge itself.
Now 9 days since lightning ignited the Dragon Bravo fire, flames are being fueled by hot temperatures, low relative humidity, and strong wind gusts. Crews are battling the fire on the ground and by air, but not without challenges. Firefighters were forced to evacuate the area overnight due to a chlorine gas leak at the water treatment facility caused by the fire. It also prompted closures to all inner canyon corridors trails and campgrounds.
Only other time I've ever seen them close trails like that was when the whole park closed during, the first months of COVID.
There have been no reported injuries or deaths. All staff and residents were successfully evacuated prior to the fire's escalation.
All of this was done in a coordinated manner. It was done quickly, but it was not rushed.
According to Grand Canyon National Park, at least 50 structures were destroyed in the fire, including administrative buildings and visitor facilities.
It's taking a big chunk of the park and taking it offline for at least a couple of years.
But the hopes to rebuild are already developing.
This is an economic engine for Coconino County and for the state of Arizona, and we want to be able to work in partnership with the National Park Service and with others to get this rebuilt.
The North Rim will be closed for visitors for the remainder of the season. Residents in the area have been ordered to evacuate due to the fire, which has burned around 5,000 acres. A coalition of 20 states are suing FEMA over its decision to shut down a program that helps communities guard against natural disasters. The lawsuit contends that FEMA unlawfully eliminated its multi-billion-dollar grant program, Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities, or BRIC, a program that provides grants for a variety of disaster mitigation efforts, including levees, shelters, and vegetation management. According to the state's complaints, the impact of the shutdown has been devastating, and communities in every state have benefited from federal disaster mitigation grants. They say it saved lives and spared homes, businesses, hospitals, and schools from costly damage. FEMA announced the termination in April, saying the program was wasteful and ineffective and more concerned with political agendas than helping Americans affected by natural disasters. Well, that's all of the top weather stories for this week. With your weather impact report, I'm meteorologist Danielle Moss.